Now, the conclusion of the Odyssey, chapter 8. The next morning dawns. Penelope's competition is appropriately set during the festival of Apollo, the archer god. Odysseus watches the preparations and revelry. Remember, he knows what is going to happen. And two of his servants, loyal servants, are having a conversation with this still in disguise beggar Odysseus. And they're trying to watch over him based on the poor treatment that he received the day before. One of the servants reveals that he would have left Ithaca a long time ago if he didn't believe that Odysseus, his master, would one day return and make all of the suitors pay. The disguised Odysseus tells them that their master will return soon enough, which again is a great example of dramatic irony. Odysseus can tell them that Odysseus would return before they'll leave because he's already there. The reader's aware of this, but they are not yet aware of this. The evil servant that we met yesterday in chapter 7, Melanthius, he's back. He is still rude and disrespectful to the disguised Odysseus. He feels that he will have to beat up the old beggar before the old beggar will finally listen and leave Ithaca. He suggests that he should go and ruin someone else's feasts. Meanwhile, Telemachus offers Odysseus a seat and warns the suitors that in his father's house, this old beggar will be treated decently. Do you guys think they're going to listen? Nope, they don't listen at all. In fact, Antinous complains to the other suitors that he really wishes they could have killed Telemachus. That way they wouldn't have to deal with his back talk. And they continue to bully Odysseus. One of the suitors throws food at him. Odysseus dodges this without even spilling his drink. And in comes the seer. If you guys remember, this guy's visions have been spot on. And here's another omen, a vision that he says he has received. Darkness is going to cover the house. The walls will be covered with blood, and the corridors will be filled with ghosts. The suitors respond to this by telling him that he's crazy, and they make him leave the building. Penelope looks out into the courtyard of rowdy suitors, hearing them kicking out her friend, one of the few loyal companions that she's had. They also criticize Telemachus for the company he's keeping, namely an old beggar and a crazy old prophet. Under the inspiration of Athena, Penelope finally addresses the suitors, rebuking them for abusing her hospitality simply because her husband has not returned home yet. She reminds them that they are there to try and marry her and brings out Odysseus's bow for the archery competition. She explains the challenge. Whoever can string Odysseus's hunting bow the most easily and then proceed to shoot a single arrow through all 12 axe heads will prove themselves fit to rule Ithaca, and she will marry them. She also explains that she will leave her lawful husband Odysseus. So even if he comes back, she's committing to this new man. Emmaus, the faithful servant, brings the bow to the suitors, weeping openly as the kingdom is being prepared to be given to a lesser man. The suitors begin to mock Emmaus, telling him to leave if he cannot keep himself from crying. I want you guys to catch really the motive of Penelope as she has them do this trick. It's kind of the if you can fit in his shoes, right? So this is something Odysseus used to do. If you can do it, and you will prove yourself a man equal of Odysseus. Now, Telemachus announces at the beginning of the competition that he is first going to attempt to string the bow. In other words, he wants the first run to become the head of his own household, not leaving her to the mercy of the suitors. Unfortunately, Telemachus could not string the bow, and he, I think a little tongue-in-cheek, says he's merely too young or feeble. So he invites the suitors who are older and stronger to compete and to see who will resolve this. So the big takeaway here is he is not wanting to marry his mother. He's wanting to save his mother, right? And I want you guys to catch how much he's grown, right? From chapter 1, a man who won't express his thoughts, to now putting himself out there in front of everybody. He knows that Odysseus is watching, right? So even if a suitor does string the bow, it's not going to matter. Odysseus is live and well. But he's approaching this as an opportunity to prove himself to his mother, to his servants, to the suitors, and to his father. Not because he wants to marry his mother. Telemachus, standing off to the side, sad or appearing sad, watches as Antinous assigns the order to which the suitors will try for Penelope's hand in marriage. And one after the other fail. One of the suitors comment that Penelope may be destined to stay a widow, which, of course, is Penelope's desired outcome at this point. And while the suitors are trying this without any success, Odysseus speaks with two of his servants off to the side to test their loyalty and to find out, would they stand with Odysseus were he to come back? They both enthusiastically reply that they would both stand with Odysseus should he come back, and Odysseus reveals himself to them by showing another scar he received while hunting boar. Apparently, boar are not nice animals to hunt. Now, these servants, loyal servants, immediately recognize the scar and their master, and they rejoice. Odysseus withholds his excitement, cautions his men to keep his secret, to keep up appearances, and gives them some unknown tasks to perform. And then they all return separately. Our last suitor is up, failing to string the bow. And he laments that if he cannot do it, none of them can, and they will all be disgraced, yet by unborn children. Do you guys need to know that this disgrace, if you've ever seen like Mulan, right? Family honor. Disgrace was a serious problem. People are known by their deeds and the deeds of their parents. So here, these men are worrying not only for his own name, but the name of his children who are going to be connected with his failure to do something like string a bow. Now, last up for the bow is the boss, Antinous. He expects to string the bow easily himself. He has handed the bow and begins a short monologue about how easily he's going to accomplish this task. Tension builds as he nearly does it, but falls short. Now, he blames his failure on the fact that it is the day of the archers, day to worship Apollo, and here they are trying to accomplish an archery-related task. So their decision is, we're going to try this again tomorrow. I do find it fascinating that he appears to be in no hurry to string the bow, and he was last. You would think that if he really cared about marrying Penelope, He would have wanted to go first. So perhaps he doesn't really care. Or maybe he was just so confident in his own ability, knowing that maybe others couldn't. Who knows? And as the suitors start to pack up and leave the contest, Odysseus calls for the bow and a chance to try. Now the suitors are enraged by this request, but Penelope commands the suitors to give him the bow, knowing that this beggar, this old man, is too honorable to actually wed her, but if he does this, that she will give him a reward and safe passage wherever he wants. Now, Telemachus interjects that as the man of the house, only he has the right to say the beggar can participate, and he sends his mom into the house. Now, I want you guys to imagine one of you telling your mom that where she belongs is back in the house. Just picture, hey, Mom, go back to the kitchen. Go back to the laundry room where you belong. Now, this outburst may seem sexist and kind of chauvinistic, but we know Telemachus loves and respects his mother. So what's going on here? Now, Telemachus firstly has come of age and should be running his household, but his mother has been reigning since Odysseus' departure. So he's first attempting to reassert his position as the man of the house by dismissing and disrespecting his mother. But this is done not as a slight to her, but rather as a way of being clever, knowing that his mom should not be in the room for what we hope is going to be an ensuing battle. Odysseus is getting a bow in his hands. The suitors are all present. And Odysseus, maybe they've talked, or maybe Telemachus is, again, growing into be a man like his father, knows he needs to get his mom out of here some way, somehow. And we find out what one of the servants was doing. The doors to the courtyard are being chained together with Odysseus and the suitors trapped within. The suitors, not able to see or not able to comprehend what they see with their eyes, as this old man, this beggar, expertly strings the bow and displays it for all to see. They are stunned into silence. And in the background, Zeus thunders a sign that this is all in accordance with his will. Odysseus, still in disguise, takes careful aim before letting loose his arrow. The arrow cleanly passes through all 12 axes as he proclaims the contest to an end. This is the event that brings about his return to Ithaca as the true king and rightful ruler. Athena immediately removing his disguise so that the suitors can see who they're dealing with, and a shout rises up from them as they realize Odysseus has returned. He rebukes them for ever thinking that he would not return from Troy, giving praise to Apollo for his marksmanship, and then asking Apollo, the god of archery, to yet again guide his aim for another target. Unlike the prideful Odysseus that started his journey home, this wise Odysseus is grateful for the help of the gods and acknowledges their support. He is thankful that Apollo, the god of archery, is gifted him with the skill to shoot a bow. Odysseus' smirk is evident as he looses an arrow that strikes Antinous through his cup and into his throat, killing him instantly. The suitors cannot even watch as he falls into his back. And then comes the begging and pleading. They blame all of their actions on Antinous, their leader. And Odysseus responds by telling them they have abused the hospitality of his house and tried to steal his wife, so now they all must die. They all promise to repay back everything that they've taken from his house, every dime of food and wine, and whatever they have to pay, they will pay. Odysseus doesn't care. He tells them that they could indeed give him everything they have or would ever have, but they still must fight or flee. Now, we know they can't actually flee, right? Because he locked the doors. But the suitors, realizing that Odysseus will not show any mercy, urges them all to fight. But before he can even finish this thought, finish this sentence, Odysseus' next arrow finds its mark. And with his death, the suitors spring into action. Telemachus joins the fray, watching his father's back. Telemachus is proving his worth, fighting alongside his father. Odysseus holds back the suitors with the help of Telemachus and the generous amount of arrows that he has in his quiver. Telemachus notices that their own traitorous servant, the goatherd, is bringing the suitors to the weapons from hiding. He tosses them swords and shields and promises to return with more. And he's intercepted by our two loyal servants, who beat him up and safely hang him out of harm's way until Odysseus can judge him later. Odysseus and Telemachus continue to fight the suitors in the courtyard with the blessings of the gods. The suitors stand no chance against them, as Odysseus picks them off with his great bow, and Telemachus slays them with the sword. They are surrounded and outnumbered, but still they manage to defeat all of the suitors. All of the suitors are now dead. Those who may have been innocent are judged by the company they kept. The gods have decreed it so. Now, we finally get our resolution. The revealed Odysseus going back to be with his wife after 20 years. However, Penelope is similar to Odysseus, clever, not easily fooled, and when her servant tells Penelope that Odysseus has returned, she doesn't initially believe her. She first wants to see the bodies and the man claiming to be Odysseus. It sounds too good to be true. Odysseus is back. All the suitors are dead. Really? After 20 years? Telemachus even stands by his father, asking, trying to see maybe he can help the parents talk and, get a conversation going. And Odysseus has him go out to remove the bodies. He doesn't want Penelope to see them. And Penelope tells Telemachus that there are ways for her to determine whether or not this is really her husband. She provides a test, instructing her servant, Euryloca, to move their bed from their room. But Odysseus responds correctly, wondering how any man could have moved his bed, seeing that he carved their bed from the base of a living olive tree and built their room around it. This test for Odysseus is passed. The only reason that he would know this is if he had been in their room. His last test on his journey home completed. His identity proved to his wife. They finally embrace. Penelope's guard is dropped, and they are happily reunited. Odysseus carries Penelope into their bedchamber for the first night sleep together in 20 years. Now, I don't know at what point of time there's going to be that long, awkward discussion about things like Circe and Calypso and where his entire army is. But that's not here in this story. Instead, we see Athena, being one of the greatest wingmans of history, looking down from the heaven, pleased that her champion has finally returned home from war. She convinced the night to be longer to allow Odysseus and his wife more time together. And the next morning, Odysseus, his son, and his father, along with the loyal remaining members of the household, fight off the suitors' vengeful relatives in a small war. After this conflict, the kingdom of Ithaca continued in peace and prosperity. Now, this war wasn't actually that significant of a war. Athena actually stops the suitors and helps all of Ithaca forget their deaths, acknowledging Odysseus as the king. So this story ends at the high point. We have a resolution of Odysseus. Telemachus has become a man. Penelope is reunited with her husband, and Odysseus, after 20 years, is finally home. Thus ends the story of the Odyssey.